little town, actually with 5 auberges here. Aubergines, 5 sleeping places, hostels, and the beautiful early sunrise. Not so early actually, it's 7:30 now already. Time to get on the way. It's not quite the start of the pilgrim season, they tell me, and so some of the hostels, many of them are still closed, and few of them are open in the morning for breakfast. But if you can, especially with an early sun, get a nice coffee, a start to the day, it's a bonus. Good Monday morning. It's not often you get a Monday morning with a view like this. A few snow-capped mountains in the background. And would you like to see where we're going this morning? It's that away. And if you're not doing what you want this Monday morning, well, maybe it's time for change. There's always a choice. I choose this way for the moment, anyway. Yes, that sounds to me like it's about acceptance, which is a very sensible and good spiritual virtue. Surrender to what is, if that's the same as acceptance. There is a sense of it being reluctant, though, isn't it? Acceptance, rather than it's acceptance of blisters. I don't have any blisters, not yet anyway, but I think you know what I mean. As a friend of mine with a beard says, life is a vale of tears, and we must each carry our own cross. Not if it's self-made, my friend. And that saying okay to everything, to me, trumps that idea. We have our own cross to bear. Bear with me. I'm not saying that there is no spiritual virtue in having a cross to bear, but making one yourself and carrying that is counterproductive, shall we say? Because if the acceptance is born out of reluctance, you're not really accepting it as the best option. I suppose I better accept it. Ah dear. The kind of acceptance that I am thinking of is not a sort of woeful acceptance or reluctant acceptance. It's a joyful acceptance. And it springs from, I think, well, no, not I think. In my experience, it springs from the acceptance that everything is, how to put this without sounding trite, everything is in its proper place. There's a definition, not of happiness, that I like. There's a definition of unhappiness, which is sort of perhaps the flip side of the coin, or the absence of happiness. Unhappiness is not wanting what is. And so the acceptance of what is, ergo sum, is happiness. So if you're accepting what is right now, whatever situation, pleasant or otherwise, you're in, dare I suggest that is happiness? I don't like the trouble is, my friends, I've had this out with my mate, and I don't like the word happiness in this context. It's too flimsy, it's too dog-eared, it's cheap paper. Happiness, it's not vellum. Anybody can write any sort of lyrics. I mean, Donovan compared to Bob Dylan comes to mind, strangely enough. Anybody can write cheap lyrics, me included. I'll sing you one of my songs in a bit. But the acceptance of what is happiness. I'm not keen on the H word. I would, if I had to, I'd substitute it with peace or quiet joy, something like that. It's an active and positive state of acceptance, which does not depend. I might regret what I'm about to say in another 20 kilometres time. Back to the plot. We're still on the rise. Not for much longer. Then it will be downhill all the way. Coming back to acceptance, accepting acceptance. Jeff Foster is very good on accepting acceptance, by the way. You check him out on YouTube. He's got a lovely gentleness about him, talking about such things. For there to be acceptance, there has to be an acceptor and an offerer, an acceptee, if there is such a thing, you know. It sounds like to me like a person-to-person transaction. Acceptance, you're offered something and you accept it or not. With my videos, I can upset one or two people, and they take offence. And if they say they've taken offence, I say to them, you can't give offence, you can only take offence. Meaning that's your problem, which it is. There's no intention to give offence. Don't give offence me in. So there's an acceptor and an acceptee, as though there are two. Well, as you know, there aren't two. There's only one. And so the giver doesn't need to do a receiving of its own stuffness, substance, benign, gracious manner of the day. It is in the nature of things, and it's only if you consider yourself separate from the giver that you would accept. It seems to be contingent acceptance based on whether you like the circumstances or not, and whether you choose to accept or not. But if instead there's only one thing, one stuff, one divine being, and you are it, or part of it, or participate in it by invitation, a spark of the divine, shall we say, then it's all your fault. So what's this acceptance about? Because the oneness, the beautiful oneness, has created everything like this. I was going to say in motion, which introduces time, and time is a thing of the mind, but I will not go there. So, acceptance is a thing, and how I'm reminded that my favourite medieval mystic, Meister Eckhart, says that if you only ever pray one thing, let it be thank you. Just to finish that, if by saying okay to things as they arise, if instead of a sort of reluctant acceptance, that turned into a thank you, now we're talking, now we're humming, now we're on the right track, and it's only another 230 kilometres now. Here we go. A little coda to this. I can't stop myself this morning. Monday morning. Ah dear. Start the week with Phil Shankland. Something's occurred to me just musing on acceptance again and saying okay. I think being always thankful, grateful, counting your blessings is always good. The idea that you could accept something implies it's not so good. This is a slippery slope, my friends, I think. And this is why I struggle with, and I don't make a comfy seat in my domain for the idea that we are all sinners and that it's all a mistake and we're all damned, or we're all barking up the wrong tree and life is a vale of tears. Personally, I don't know how anybody could possibly say that when look at the gift of creation, the beauty of it. Yes, it all dies away. That's part of the plan. Not worried about that. Humans do things with meaning. They go on long walks because life is full of meaning. And so I have sloughed off at a previous monument at the start, at that cafe, a bangle that is my critical spirit. So I'm not wishing to have a critical spirit, but I'm just saying that for me, there is pain in life. Suffering is optional. I may yet regret saying that. We are all recipients of a divine, benevolent grace that, in my particular case this Monday morning, allows me to go for the most beautiful and, from now on, I promise, quiet walk in northern Spain on the Camino. Where does your way take you this morning? So, like thousands of Caminos, Pellegrinos, pilgrims before me, I am at the peak, I think, the zenith, the highest point of the walk, at least from here to Santiago. I've touched the pole, it seemed appropriate, and left a stone. It's a lovely aspect of the Camino. It's a very communal activity, and people will help you along the way. I've just noticed there's a lovely chapel just behind us as well. Just take it in for a moment. Your deepest experience. What is your deepest experience? It seems to me that there are two directions for deepest experience. External, of the senses, perhaps, you might say. Just experiences, that'll do. And inner depths of the heart experiences, or ascensions. They'd be deep experiences, deep in height. I suppose my deep experiences that come to mind: the birth of my daughter was a profoundly joyous and moving and tearful experience, especially for my wife. I like to think I played my part in the prenatal exercises, and on at the birth I squeezed her ankle hard like we'd been taught, except she looks up in between contractions and she says, "Phil, you don't need to do it anymore, I've got the real thing." I was supposed to be simulating contractions. Didn't quite get a pass on that. I suppose I could literally say that sub-aqua was a deep experience. I think the deepest I've been is 30 meters. I didn't take to the water like a duck. I took to the water like a stone, really. I found it a bit intimidating, but it was certainly a deep experience. Bon camino. And I suppose you could say sexual ecstasy is a deep experience. It took 2 weeks of tantra training with Sarita to unlock my sexuality, which I'm very glad of. In terms of depths and heights of inner experience, well, of course, my born again experience when I was 17, it's still very real for me. The gift of the Holy Spirit was a deep experience. Rebaptizing myself in the river Ganges, the Holy Mother Ganga, in Varanasi, the oldest city in the world, with cow shit squeezing between the toes of my bare feet. That was a pretty deep experience. Oh dear. Abhishektananda, who I mentioned earlier, his favourite place for deep experiences is what he called the Cave of the Heart. And that's actually the name of his autobiography, I think the title of his autobiography, which I can't get hold of for love nor money, because he's French and he wrote it in French, and so it's the English translation. But I won't talk about it at length here, but it has triggered a genuinely deep and profound spiritual experience, which I still can't explain and is clear as a bell. When I was in India, I was on my first day in Tiruvannamalai, which is the home of the Ramana Maharshi ashram and other ashrams. There are 4 huge Aztec-y type pyramid temples, each on the side of a square, a big piazza. And I noticed some of the locals were filing in line into a small opening in the grass set of stairs in the courtyard. So I followed them, and I had a most wonderful, puzzling, deep experience, which I'll tell you about another time. Interestingly, even though we're going downhill, there's still a lot of residual snow about. And in fact, the snow slows you down more than the mud or the stream in the middle of the path. Because, well, you know what it's like walking in snow. It's a lovely sound though, isn't it? With the birds as well. Look at the light on the snow ahead. I must tell you, I've just taken a snow bath by accident. Lost my footing in this. It's actually deep snow, it's up to your calf, and toppled over. But my skiing experience came in handy, because there's quite a slope as well. You might not be able to see that, but it's of course more difficult to get up, especially with a backpack, into the upper side of the slope. It's much easier to flail, twist over, and at first be facing down the slope, and then get to your feet and turn around. Anyway, yeah, enough hints and tips on how to fall in the snow on the Camino. Now this is my kind of view, my kind of tiny house living, in this case tiny caravan living, with a large wood store behind. Oh no, it's stones. It's a stone built cabin, and there's a good spiritual lesson for me here, because I was hoping for a coffee here, and you can see that it's laid out for visitors. So normally they would be serving coffee and pastries or whatever, but right now everybody's still asleep in bed. Must have been a big night last night, or they've got other things to do today. So what do we do? How do we respond to small disappointments in life like that? Well, I think we've just touched on the answer earlier: acceptance. But more than an okay, it's okay that it's not open, serving nice fresh coffee. It's okay, but thank you that it's there for others when it is open, and we carry on for another hour for our coffee. One of the other lovely things that the locals do for the passing pilgrims is provide water. There are very often fuentes, springs, and with water, and they're either potable, drinkable, or non-potable, not drinkable. This looks definitely like a non-potable. In fact, I think this is a water skittle alley put there as a pleasant diversion for the pilgrims. I've just paused on the way for one of those Camino moments to remember, for me anyway. You can see snow-capped mountains behind me, the path ahead, and the snow-capped mountains behind me over there. Another pilgrim goes by. A silent hello. This is a magic way to spend a day. Now there's a proper pilgrim's panorama. Civilization of sorts. In the valley below, a long way below, I don't know which town that is. Snow-capped mountains still. And I'm guessing that that white scar across the next hill is the Camino, which is where we're going now. I'm treading very carefully here, downhill, loose stones, jagged edges, taking it very gingerly, very slowly. One loose stone, one twisted ankle, and that's my Camino done for this visit anyway, and that's not the plan. So I am taking it very gently this morning. It's taking a lot longer than it should, but that's okay. The snow slowed me down as well because you can't walk quickly through snow, can you? And also there's a lot of water and running streams and mud in places on the top there, and that's so you have to pick your way, sometimes going a little off piste. And so what probably should be just a 2-hour 8-kilometre walk to this next place, I can't remember its name, for me has turned into 3 and a bit hours so far, and I'm still 20 minutes away, I think. Anyway, we are just practicing paying attention to the path ahead. This is a bit special. You come off the top of the hill, 3-hour morning's walk, and you turn a corner, surprise, surprise. Valley below with a sizable town, if not city. I don't know where that is, I'll have to look it up. And we're going down, down, down. Hopefully for a coffee. You could live here if you want. Right on the Camino, why not? You could open a little fruit juice stall outside, selling fresh oranges to the pilgrims for €2. It would be a mini automatic orange juicer machine. If you drive from Sheffield to Hathersage, it's a lovely road, and there's a sharp bend which is called the Surprise, and here we have a sharp bend and a surprise. You can't quite see it from here at a distance, but it's lowland farmland after the uplands. But also in the distance there's a big city. Actually, I don't know which one it is, and there's no way I'm walking to that city this evening. I'm hoping the surprise is a nice cold beer in a bar just round the corner. Thankfully, the last stop for today. That's it. One of the prettiest villages in Spain, apparently. Molinaseca. It has a river running through, and it looks like at least 2 churches. I think 4 albergues, and I hope an open bar. I've spotted a bar on the other side of the river. I think they've saved us a place. Not only is it the prettiest village, one of the prettiest villages in Spain, it's also the most generous and hospitable. I've ordered a beer with lemon, caña con limón, and look what they brought me. An aperitif, they say. Thanks. Thank you are our 2 words to the day. That's how we started, that's how we finished.